them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
S-I-C-K,
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. CF Montreal Talk.
Here's the chance, they've got the goal! Absolutely incredible! Cameron Porter delivers the goal! The send Montreal Impact into the CONCACAF Champions League semi-final.
The sickest CF Montreal podcast. Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Bittt.Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Talking CF Montreal on this Thursday, October 3rd. Hope everyone is doing well. I am Marinaro, and the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk, brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. Energy Transportation Group is driven to be different. Without further ado, I bring in, joining me today to talk about CF Montreal from the Ball is Round podcast and Canadian Press as well. I actually saw you on Can Football Club. I got to ask you something, Elias. Is it that you're so good that everyone wants you, or that you're the only member of the media full-time on the English side that talks CF Montreal, or is it a little bit of both? What is it exactly?
I'm not even full time technically, but no, I just I enjoy talking about the club. I enjoy talking about soccer, and if anybody wants to have me, I'm there.
Good for you, good man. I love it. Look, I mean, I don't even know what to actually, I do know what to say to start. I do know what to say to start is that 4 wins, 1 tie in their last 5 games. Everyone knows the club is not unanimous. Everyone knows that their sporting philosophy is not unanimous. But at the same time, you have to give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Gabriel Gervais told us that following the Mercato, that he thought that this team had a better chance to make the playoffs than prior to the Mercato. And count me among those who didn't think that was going to be possible because of, I think there was like 9 games left at the time, and it was going to take a while for the chemistry to kick in. There was a lot going on, a lot of clicks, a lot of divisions. It seems like a lot of stuff has been patched up. This team looks like it's never been closer at no point this season. And lo and behold, they found themselves in a play-in spot now in the 8th spot. They went to Atlanta yesterday. They needed a big result. They got it. And you got to love their chances right now.
I can't believe that this is the point. If you told us before the international break that this is where they'd be sitting right now, 3 points ahead of Toronto and Philly and DC, who won yesterday, I don't think anyone would have taken you seriously. Winning on the road the way they did was, it wasn't a scrappy win, right? They earned those 2 goals. They could have gotten even more. They defended competently. This is early season CF Montreal, that team that was unbeaten on the road for 3 or 4 games. That's the same kind of attitude they're bringing. And I don't know where they pulled this out of, but was it missed?
Well, Josef Martínez pulled it off. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, look, he wasn't the only one. Bringing Tom Pierce onto the field when they did was a huge move. His left foot, and everyone who has a left foot actually has a little bit of magic in it. It's got, it was a beautiful, beautiful cross pass to Josef Martínez. But you take a look at the way Martínez slid in to redirect that ball. I know it looks like a little thing, and I'm talking about his second goal, but this is what separates guys who are goal scorers from guys who aren't goal scorers, right? The way he slid in, there's a lot of players, like if he doesn't slide, he probably doesn't get to that. And there's a lot of players that probably won't slide. And if he doesn't slide, maybe he does get to it, but he doesn't actually put it in because the momentum drives everything in, basically. Take a look at Martinez's 2 goals. The ball back that he gets where he tries to do a 1-2 with Saliba, but it's actually an Atlanta player that pushes it back to him. And boom, a very just quick toe poke to the top of the net. And then the slide off of Pierce's cross. This is why goal scorers are the guys that are paid the most amount of money. For the most part, he's the second highest paid player in the team at around 1.3 or 1.4 or whatever it is. But he's come alive at the right time of the season. And thank God, because at one point, it was give or take a month ago, Courtois was talking about betrayal, but, in regards to Martínez, to himself, they were not on the same page. He was seen very animated, not very happy. Courtois wasn't happy with him. He wasn't happy with Courtois. Courtois and or the organization, whoever I would, but Courtois deserves a lot of credit for being able to get Martínez back on board.
Yeah, I'm not. Look, again, probably towards at the end of the season when it's all said and done, we'll get a clearer idea of what that roller coaster relationship was like. But, I think it's very clear from just his entire career that Josef Martinez is someone who wears his heart in his sleeve, right? So when he is feeling good and he's enjoying himself, you can tell. When he's in a bad mood or he's not enjoying himself, he's not enjoying his football, you can very much tell.
Yeah.
So
And even
you're
where he
in
had
this
his
zone
best
right now.
moments, pardon me, Elias, with Elias, with I think I called you Elias for a second there. That would have been cool because you would have been earning, about 100,000 US, I guess. But you're probably earning more than that.
Yeah, sure.
But Elias, you know what? Even in Atlanta, where Martinez had some great moments, there were some hiccups.
Exactly.
I mean, just there were times where he was not unanimous. He has a character that is like a lot of goal scorers. When things are going good, he's in a very good mood, and he's a good guy to be around, and he's pleasant to be around. And when things are not going well, he's not as pleasant to be around. Things are going well right now. They have been going well for the last 4 games or so.
Yeah, I just think he has to buy into this new role that he has, right? Because he's always been a superstar, and he still is, but he's also this almost paternal figure amongst the attackers now because there's no other veteran attackers on the team when you look at it, right? The most senior attacker after him is Kokoro, who still is cutting his teeth in MLS. So there's this new role that he kind of has to take up because he's never been in that position before in MLS. At Atlanta, he was the guy. In Miami, he was more experienced, but there are other experienced guys with him. He is now the kind of elder statesman among the attackers, and he has to take all these kids under his wing. And not only does he have to kind of get along with them, but he also has to nurture them in some way, given that, I'm sure that was part of the conversation when he signed with the club is, look, we have a lot of young attackers. We need you to kind of also be this mentor figure. And, when the football is difficult, that must also be a difficult role because you also have to, you're also playing at the same time, or you can't just sit back and be a mentor. You also have to focus on your own craft. So now that everything is good, he's bagging braces by the truckload and everything is clicking. I feel like that secondary responsibility that he has is becoming even easier. And you could tell on the field, him and Clark, and by extension, Bryce Duke, but really him and Caden Clark are, again, and I still think it's too early to definitively say this, but I'm starting to see the beginning of what was Georgi Mihailovic and Noah Melchioro. Just the beginning of that relationship.
And that, you know what? That's fine. That's fair. I could take that.
And,
Yeah, that's not a
and
problem.
I don't want to label it like that is it because it's still too early. I think next year when they have a full off season, a full season together, it'll be easier to tell. But the beginning of the relationship where they were actively looking for one another, when they were setting each other up, when they were taking on full defenses by themselves. That's what I'm starting to get a little bit of. And I think that's what Laurent Couture really has to hone in on now.
Let's put the cards on the table for Martinez. Once upon a time, he was the most lethal goal scorer in the league. You can make an argument that because he was the most lethal goal scorer in the league, that once upon a time, he was the best player in the league. And if he wasn't the best player in the league,
right?
And if he wasn't the best player in the league, he was top 3 on everyone's list for a couple of years. There's no doubt about it. He shows up to Montreal. A lot of teams had given up on him or didn't think that he was, worth the money that he was asking. So they decided, you know what, I'll pass. He's a free agent. They go out, they sign him, comes in, probably not at the top of his physical condition, by the way. And he's looking for some chemistry, new team, new culture, new system, new philosophy, new coach, rookie coach, by the way. And he comes in with a little bit of an ego for sure. I'm Josef Martínez. This is what I've accomplished in this league. It was a team that was had a lot of young players. They were kind of adding a couple of veterans to it. It took a while to find his stride. And coach had the habit of changing up his starting 11 very, very often. And now in the last 4 or 5 weeks, the coach has been going with his starting 11 for the most part. And the only time that he changed up his starting 11 where he brought in 5 new players was when they were playing 3 games in 7 days. And it was the game in the middle, which the coach deemed in New England, which the coach deemed to be the least important game of those 3, because really wanted to put his starting 11 for the home games, in particular the Saturday and the next Saturday. And now that he has this chemistry and it's coming with Caden Clark, Bryce Duke to a certain degree, he's still the most he has been in the past the most important player on his team, or one of them. He's the most important player for CF Montreal right now. If he doesn't score, they don't win games. And, you could say he's doing his job, but, man, he's really doing his job really, really well. And for me, this is pretty amazing because the organization made their decisions, right? They wanted to bring in some young players. They wanted to bring in Caden Clark, and they wanted to bring in Marshall Ruddy. And they brought in Pierce as well, not so young. And the acquisitions of Clark and Pierce have been especially good. Bugai and Marshall Ruddy have had a less of an impact, of course. But so even though they've helped in that regard, it's also still a veteran who's being paid a lot of money that is really helping a lot. And that's a Renard signing. So both management teams, the Renard management team and this new management team, both have their fingerprints on this lineup, and they're both contributing. And you got to give credit where credit is due. Credit to Renard for signing Martínez and convincing everyone that Martínez was going to be a good signing, and he still had gas left in the tank because there were doubts, and that Martínez was going to be worth it. There were doubts. And if this team makes a play-in spot, well, then Martínez's contract has paid for itself. And credit to Gervais and Corey Ray and everyone after Renard Kremenzitis for going out and acquiring some players and telling us that this team had a better chance of making the playoffs after the Mercado. And so far, they're right.
Well, you look at the people that left. You look at Juan, you look at Ariel Lassiter. Those are the two big departures, right? Mathieu Choinière was in the cards for a while now. That was not a surprise that he left during the window. That was reported on a while ago when it was more just a formality than anything else. But those three players, and you look who they brought in, right? The four players that they brought in Marshall Ruddy, Pierce, Bugai, and Clark. And I can't help but think that overall, yes, losing Mathieu Choinière hurts, losing Juan hurts, but it's a net positive in that Nathan Saliba has been allowed to step up, which since the beginning of the season, I thought he is going to find a way to make himself indispensable. And now he has, right? Through whether it was Mathieu Choinière leaving or not, I think that one way or another, he was going to become indispensable. He was
Choinière leaving made more room for Saliba.
Exactly. It accelerated, but it was going to happen one way or another. Nathan Saliba is too good of a player to still play second fiddle, even, towards the end of the year. And then you have Caden Clark, who brought in. And again, for a long time, I thought that Ariel Lassiter was probably the bigger positive of the two Inter Miami players that were brought in until Bryce Duke really started stepping up his game recently. But ultimately, 3 players out, 4 players in, this feels like a net positive from this window, which is all you can ask for, especially when, you bring in 4 relatively young players and promising players with I think, Tom Pierce is 24, 25, I think. He's mid-20s, and he's the oldest player that they brought in. Everyone else is 21, 22. Marshall Ruddy's 19. So you can't help but, tip your cap to Gervais and Corey Ray in that team because, they had all the pressure in the world to make this work, and they pulled it off.
Yeah, I think Marshall Ruddy is 20 because he's a 2004, and I know that because I got 2 boys, one's an 03 and one's an 05, so that's why I know that. Unless he would have been a late birthday, and I don't think so. And so you're right. The Sick Podcast one, we'll get back to that in just a second. It's brought to you in part by Bittt Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager. It's a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for the cool fall days. Only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing. That famous starting 11 we were talking about. Let's bring it up now. All right, there you have it. Sirois in goal, a 3-man back line. Waterman with Campbell to his right and Alvarez to his left. Saliba and Piet in front of the back line. Marshall Ruddy and Edwards at right wing back and left wing back, and Clark and Martínez and Duke. This shows up as a 3-4-3 on the application, but I think Clark and Duke were just behind Martínez to make it a 3-4-2-1 once again. So it's funny because you brought up Choinière. And he was the best player on this team for the last couple of years. He was the most versatile player on this team for the last couple of years. Could play 5 different positions. And yet, their best results are coming without him. It's it's something. It almost seems like the message once he left was everyone thought there became more of an opportunity for them, and it was an opportunity for everyone to show that they can do more, and they all embraced it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this isn't a detriment to Choinière necessarily, but more so the fact that his leaving, like you said, created the space for others to showcase what they can do. And at the end of the day, right, if Caden Clark doesn't show up, I don't think Martinez rediscovers his kind of form. Because him banging the goals is what's getting these results, but there's no catalyst without Caden Clark. That feels like, the one element that triggered this Josef Martínez of old. It almost feels like, where he's actually taking his shots now and he's not overthinking. And it feels like that first goal where he got the ball in the box.
Yeah.
Month or two ago, I think he tries to take an extra touch, maybe get it a little bit more space instead of just hitting it. Right. A lot of these goals are striker's instinct goals that he's getting now.
Of course.
Right? And that comes with experience. But the thing is, for a long part of the season, especially in the middle when it was rough, he wasn't doing that. He was trying to take the extra touch. He was trying to make the extra move, and he just ran out of space, and he would end up shooting himself in the foot. Now that he's scoring, it's because he simplified his game so much. And I think that comes with having faith in your teammates that they're going to do the right move. So all I have to think about is my job, which is putting in the back of the net.
It's also confidence in getting into a rhythm, right? Right now, like he can do no wrong. Like you just get the feeling that every time he ends up touching the ball, whether it's off his head or if it's off his foot or whatever, he's going to score, and those weren't going in before. And we've seen that in sports, right? When goal scorers, either they're snake bitten or sometimes they end up scoring goals that you don't even think are going to go in, and they wouldn't go in for another player, but they'll go in for that player. The Sick Podcast brought to you in part by Playground. Discover a world of luxury at Playground. Explore their 30,000 square foot expansion with thrilling games, gourmet dining, live entertainment located just over the Mercier Bridge. Only minutes from downtown Montreal. Playground. Playground, experience the strip without the trip. Let's take a look at the timeline of the game. And of course, Martinez scores at the 43rd minute of play. He's trying to work a 1-2 with Saliba. It's an Atlanta player that actually puts it on his foot. It's a toe poke. A couple of minutes later, it's Rios gets in behind Alvarez, and he's able to head it home, and he ties the game at 1. By the way, Alvarez was shaky yesterday. On several occasions, they were able to get behind him. They go into halftime, and the other team makes a couple of substitutions. Atlanta does 66th and 74th. A little bit later on in the game, it's Pierce who comes in for Edwards at the 74th, and Opoku comes in for Clark. And just a couple of minutes after that, Martinez gets a beautiful cross from Pierce. By the way, this is a custom, right? The last couple of games, they've been making 2 to 3 substitutions all at the same time. And it seems that when they do, within 2 minutes later, they're actually scoring a goal. It's kind of weird. At the 83rd minute, Coccaro comes in for Martinez. And then at the 92nd minute, Corbo comes in for Saliba, and Bugai comes in for Marshall Ruddy. And that's that. The subs have been the same over the past couple of games. I said this last game. Look, you'd have to be an idiot to say that you got a problem with the starting 11 right now. It's what's giving CF Montreal success. So you stick with it. There's no problem there. I have no problem with nothing that's going on right now in terms of the starting 11. I think it's a huge decision to leave Wanyama out of the lineup in terms of not even on the bench. But then again, like it looks like they made their decision and it's over for him. I find it a little bit odd that Vilsaint is not on the bench. I find that a little bit odd. Young player. I want to bring up his value. I don't think they're bringing up his value on the bench, but once again, no problem at all with the starting 11. Right, but we talked about that last show, right? I just find it a little bit odd that he's not on the bench. It goes against their philosophy in terms of promoting young players, but no problem at all with the starting 11.
I mean, he really only subs on 2 attackers, right? It's Kokoro and it's Mahala. That's it. And that seems to be, especially because now that they're not trailing, they don't need to pile on the attackers since the international break. Yeah. He's really only subbing for just, like for like substitutions now. He's not, I need 4 attackers, I need 5 attackers on the field now. So,
but in the past, Opoku and Vilsaint have subbed off the 10s.
Yeah, that's the thing. So if he needs more offense and needs more firepower, then Vilsaint was usually that 3rd sub off the bench, like you said, as that second player alongside Mahala. Now that they're kind of again, the last time that they were trailing a game was in New England, and they haven't trailed a game, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. That
They
they
were
haven't
trailing
trailed a
2-0.
game.
Yeah, they were
They
trailing
haven't
2-0.
trailed a game. They've trailed a game once since the international break, which is, again, when we talk about reversal of form, this is probably the biggest 180 I've seen from this club in years in terms of just a reversal of form.
They're a great story right now. In the last 3 weeks, CF Montreal is the greatest. Their reversal of form is the greatest story of anything that's going on with Montreal sports teams right now. Now, for the most part, over the last couple of years, they have been third in that category of 3 Montreal sports teams. But in the last 3 weeks, their reversal of form is the number one story on the Montreal sports scene with Montreal sports teams.
Oh, and that decision day game in Montreal against New York is going to be a madhouse. You know, they've said sold out, but sometimes you see a couple empty seats just because that is going to be packed on Saturday because, again, this, like you said, right? Habs aren't doing so great. The Owls aren't doing so great. PWHL is starting soon. AHL starting soon. You've got the
Alouettes have had a couple of hiccups in the last couple of weeks.
Exactly. CF Montreal is the only kind of sports team right now that's doing the thing, and they deserve to have an absolute insane crowd on Saturday because they're going to need it against New York.
I think the Alouettes' record in the last couple of weeks was 1 win, 2 losses, and a tie. And CF Montreal once again has 4 wins, 0 losses, and 1 tie in their last 5 games. So no, it really is a great reversal. And look, there's a lot of people who took a lot of shots, some of which came from yours truly, who deserve a lot of credit for turning this thing around, because there's a lot of people who didn't think that they were going to be able to turn it around in such a short period of time. One of which was yours truly. So credit to Gabriel Gervais, his entire staff, and especially Laurent Courtois. And Courtois, being a rookie coach, I mean, there's some things that make you or break you. And he may have been able to get over the hump here, and I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised if between now and the end of the year, or at the end of the year, there's an extension that kicks in on his contract, and they're going to reward him if he's able to get the team in a play-in, which right now they are in, because let's take a look at the standings.
Look at that.
So Montreal in the 8th spot for a play-in spot with 40 points. Charlotte has 45. They're in the 7th spot. Montreal will be in Charlotte, by the way, on Saturday. And then a couple of weeks after that, Montreal, like Elias said, will host New York City FC on the 19th of October, which is going to coincide with the night that they're supposed to be honoring, by the way, the 1994 team on this, the 30-year anniversary. 3 points behind Montreal in the 9th and final play-in spot is Toronto FC, who only have 1 game left on their season. Bernardeschi will not be playing in it. Osorio will not be playing in it. Insigne is hurt, and the coach is hoping he can get 5 or 10 minutes out of him. Clearly, this does not look good for Toronto FC. Philadelphia and DC United have 2 games left. They're at 37 points, same amount of points as Toronto, 3 points behind Montreal. Atlanta is now 6 points behind Montreal, 3 points behind DC, Philadelphia, and Toronto. They also have 2 games left. CF Montreal have put themselves in a fantastic position to make the play-in. Now, here's the deal. If they make the play-in, whether it's 8th or 9th, it's going to be a 1-game playoff. If it's going to be 8th, it's going to be in Montreal. And if they're going to be 9th, it's going to be on the road. If they win that game, which if you're a CF Montreal fan right now, you got to hope that they're going to be in 8th, because they obviously play better at home than they do on the road. Mind you, that was a big road win last night. If they win that playing game, they're going to have a 2 out of 3, or a best of 3, I should say, versus Lionel Messi and Inter Miami. Wow. Montreal really needs that, man. That's going to be an amazing, amazing buzz. That'll be amazing. I couldn't think of a better script, actually.
I mean, look, when Miami and Messi and the whole circus came to town last time, yeah, they lost, but they did an excellent job at shutting Messi down, right? Other factors notwithstanding, poor set-piece defense, an incredible free kick goal, but the main threat, which is, yes, Suarez got 1 goal off of, a poacher's goal, but he really didn't do all that much notwithstanding. They successfully managed those 2 players.
Yeah.
It's not to say it's going to happen again, because at the end of the day, there's a reason that these players are, among the greatest, the greatest of all time. But Suarez is arguably one of the greatest strikers of all time as well. And you have Sergio Busquets. There's a reason that they're at this level, and you can't keep them down for long. But the way that they played does give you a little bit of, okay, so there is something there. It's not like they were played off the pitch and lost 3-2. No, in fact, they played Miami off the pitch in the first half, and then they dropped the ball. But that was.
Could you imagine they make the play-in, win the play-in game, play Inter Miami in the best of 3, and they knock Inter Miami out? Could you imagine? Okay.
Well, first of all, that's.
Could you imagine if that happens?
Getting a little bit.
Make a statue out of all of them. Put it in front of Stade Saputo, and guys like me can hang up the microphone and retire it, because then I know nothing. But
not just this, but that's an international news story, right? That's not just that's not MLS news. That is world football news, because Messi and Suarez got knocked out of the playoff by a ragtag group of Montrealers, So I think that, look, again, way ahead of ourselves. They still have at least 3 games to win before any kind of statues are getting put up. But one thing that I was very impressed with, and Martinez kind of talked about a bit after the game, is there's now this feeling that, even if they managed to squeak in a couple weeks ago, if they managed to squeak into the playoffs, they're not going anywhere, right? That's the prevailing sentiment. Now, with these performances and the way that they tied New England on the road and they beat Atlanta on the road by playing their game, it wasn't a smash and grab, right? They could have scored even more. They handled the defense in the second half, especially after their goal. They handled it very well. So there's sentiment around us changing, going, okay, yeah, so maybe, right?
You know what they say
has turned into a maybe, which is probably the best thing that's come from this form.
Well, the next best thing that you can have, other than a team with some amazing names on paper, and a team that gels and comes together and is the top team in the regular season, the next best thing you can have is a team who wants to go out there and prove themselves, a bunch of players who want to go out there and prove themselves, who know that they have to work as a team, who know that they have to work hard or else they're going to lose, who are extremely, extremely hot down the stretch and haven't lost a game in their last 5 or 6 or 7. That's equally a very, very dangerous team. CF Montreal in Charlotte on Saturday night, and then after that, their next and final game of the regular season will come 2 weeks after that when they host New York City FC. Are you making any changes to your starting 11, seeing as it's going to be 2 games in a short amount of time?
Yeah, Charlotte, look, you got to go if you go for at least a draw there, because at the end of the day, it's bonus, right? But this win against Atlanta takes all the pressure off this game against Charlotte. And I think you got to rotate the squad at some point. You don't want people getting injured. You're playing on another turf field, and arguably even a worse field than Mercedes-Benz Stadium at Bank of America Stadium. So you got to rotate the squad. You got to give some people a break.
That's his opinion. He is Elias Grigoriadis, special guest on the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk. Follow us at SickPod, CFMTL, by the way. And check us out on YouTube. It's always absolutely free to subscribe. In ending, Soccer Canada will spend 1 week in Montreal, and it's been announced. And you have a chance to go see actually a team practice. And just cost you a couple of bucks to get in and see that. They've already announced that they're going to get some of their players out there and go out in the community and meet some people, go out and meet with different amateur clubs as well, have a chance to meet some players, and some CF Montreal players have been invited to the camp. Elias, if you can tell us who has been invited and the one player that was not invited.
Yeah, so I mean, Joe Waterman, Jonathan Sirois, and Nathan Saliba all invited, all for good reason, especially since the last international break completely turned it on. Samuel Piet has been excluded again. So that's a little bit of a surprise given that the camp is taking place entirely in Canada. You'd think that maybe they would expand the camp a little bit more, bring some more bubble player, fringe players, given that the travel is almost negligible.
I understand the decision behind it to say, you know what, we want to take a look at some young players, and if we had to win one game right now, he probably would be with us. But at the same time, I would have loved to have seen him included. He's been such an amazing ambassador for soccer in the city of Montreal, in the province of Quebec, and in our country, which is Canada. He could have gone around and done some amazing work. And you know what? The way he plays, it's not his role because Saliba plays in the same role, but the way he plays, he's often someone who's disregarded. He's often someone who doesn't catch a lot of people's attention. He's actually even a player who unfortunately gets criticized by some because of maybe aesthetically the way he looks. I think Samuel Piette is extremely efficient. I think Samuel Piette can play one-touch soccer a lot better than a lot of people think. I think Samuel Piette is a very valuable member of CF Montreal. And in the CF Montreal winning 4 of their last 5 games, he's not often talked about, but in some of those games, Samuel Piette's been playing some of his best soccer.
Absolutely. And going forward, that's the thing. That's what Jesse Marsh asked of him, is get better going forward. And he has improved, especially from beginning of season, especially from last season. I don't know if maybe it's not enough for Jesse Marsh, but Piette said that's the one thing that Marsh asked of me, was to get better with the ball going forward. And he's doing it. So I don't know what else he needs to do to earn a call-up again, because he's putting in the work and he's getting the performances in.
It's all good right now. Once again, we'll end it by saying this. In the last 3 or 4 weeks, the role reversal here by CF Montreal and the way they've been able to turn things around is the greatest story on the Montreal sports team scene with all the Montreal sports teams. I mean, this has been their month, without a doubt. We'll talk about the game versus Charlotte probably again on Monday. And so have a good game, everyone. Enjoy it on Saturday night, CF Montreal in Charlotte. For Elias Grigoriadis, I'm Marinaro, and for Shane Gomo, I'm Master Control. Thanks for watching, everyone. CF Montreal, they deserve a lot of credit. Good for them. Who would have believed? You know who? Clearly, them. Ciao for now.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.